So, we just had episode 12 of the Nancy Drew TV show. This means we're officially in the second half of the series, because there are 22 episodes in total. So we're on the second half. My quick impression of this episode was that it was okay. It's perfectly suitable for... Did you say suitable or...
Serviceable.
Serviceable, yeah. It's perfectly serviceable for binge watching, just like the previous episode. I thought it was a little slow, but overall, it's okay, and it's not bad for a middle of the season episode, definitely. So, it's called The Lady of Larkspur Lane, and that's a reference to this book, book number 10. So, I don't really remember the plot of the book. We've got this nursing home. I think Nancy needs to break into the nursing home. I forget if she's trying to smuggle this old woman out or not. I think maybe they're keeping her trapped inside the nursing home for her money. And I seem to remember Nancy being thrown down a well and having to escape, and then she has to steal an airplane in order to escape. It's pretty awesome. I wish that happened in this episode. That would be pretty good. So, the premise is that Nancy needs to go into Larkspur Lane, which is a mental institution, and she needs to speak with Lucy Sable's mother, because she's following up on the clue that Lucy's ghost gave her. I did see somebody mention they don't like the ghost aspect of the show because it's robbing Nancy of all her cool detective moments, like when she climbs out of a well and steals an airplane. We've had multiple episodes where Nancy conducts a seance in order to ask the ghost what to do next. And I can understand that's not as exciting as seeing Nancy solve mysteries on her own. And she has solved mysteries on her own and done a good job. But her just playing Ghostbuster, I've never been a huge fan of the ghost stuff. This episode wasn't very heavy on the ghost stuff. Larkspur Lane is haunted by some sort of ghost. So Nancy, George, and Nick break into Larkspur Lane, and they split up. So George is a distraction, Nick steals some visitor passes, and Nancy steals patient information on Lucy's mother. She gets caught by an orderly, but he ends up being a very helpful orderly and tells her all about the ghost hauntings and the sightings, and he helps her get to Lucy's mother. And Lucy's mother is not mentally stable, which is why she's in a mental institution, and she seems to be mentally stuck in time to the night her daughter died. So she was very ominous the whole time, and she said she left the big clue to Lucy's murder inside the Thin Man's Bible. And that was the setup for the end of the episode. Apparently, Larkspur Lane used to belong to this guy named Mr. Roper. He and his children were all killed, and nobody knows why. So Nancy has to go to the room where he died. She gets the clue. It looks sort of like a hotel card, is what the important clue looked like. But then the hauntings happened, and there were cockroaches all over the walls, and Nancy collapses, and the door disappears behind her. And at the very end, Nancy wakes up, and she's in her bedroom in New York, and she's all happy and smiling, and Dad says, "Hey, Nancy, Mom just made pancakes. Let's go eat them." So it looks like we're going to have an alternate reality episode next, where Nancy's in this alternate universe where her mom's still alive and Dad's alive, and everything is so happy. So it's I guess you would call it a fever dream episode or a Nancy fantasy episode. And that does seem like it could be pretty cool. I'm a little hesitant because I think that, Nancy fantasy episode is going to involve a lot of jokes making fun of the original Nancy Drew series, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm totally off base with that. So the other two storylines are that Nancy's father is about to be murdered in prison, so Ace breaks Mr. Drew out of prison, and I think this is where I get the idea that the episode was kind of slow. There was this one scene of Ace trying to call Nancy for help, and then Ace gets in his car and drives away. And we had a 10-second shot of Ace getting into his car, he starts his car, and then drives away. Whereas any other episode, as soon as Ace gets in his car, they would have ended the shot there, right? We don't just keep rolling the camera for another 10 seconds. It was weird, though, because it's 10 seconds of silence. It's nothing but Ace starting the car. So that's why I felt maybe the pacing was a little slow on that. So Ace breaks Nancy's father out of jail basically by hacking the prison system, saying, "Hey, Mr. Drew got a transfer," and then Ace poses as the guy who's transferring Mr. Drew. So he another thing that was weird is because the guy who plays Carson Drew, I believe his name is Scott Wolf, he just does not look like he is that much older than Nancy and her friends. He looks like he would have gone to high school at the same time as Ace. So it's a little hard to believe, oh, well, this is his father. I'm like, no, he looks too young. It's so weird. And I like Nancy's father normally. I didn't like him in this episode because he's constantly scared and worried. It makes sense due to the storyline, but, you know, obviously I prefer to see him be an awesome lawyer who's solving crimes, just like I prefer to see Nancy be an awesome detective who's solving crimes, as opposed to Nancy just being spooked out and scared by ghosts in the sewer. So, Ace relies on Bess, which is storyline number 3. Bess is with her rich cousins. They sort of set her up with a mentor to make a business deal, and this was my least favorite storyline because I found it not very interesting because we don't know the terms of the business deal. I don't even know what business these people are in. Are they doing fashion? Are they selling shoes? Are they selling computers? I have no idea what business deal they're making or with whom, and I think the lack of details was sort of what made it not work so much for me. You know business. Is it a business term to, like, chit on the table?
Chit on the table?
You'd have a chit on the table? I thought they said chip, right?
Chip?
You'd be able to cash in your chip?
Oh, yeah, that's a gambling term.
No. But the business person corrector says that it's not chip, it's chit.
I have no idea. Not...
Okay, so, yeah.
Maybe I'm just not cool.
I know. But it's like, okay, that scene just kind of went over my head. So, basically what happened was Bess's mentor taught her, in business, you need to fake it till you make it. So at the end of the episode, Bess, you know, became this raw, scary business person because she was faking it, and she managed to convince Ryan Hudson to hand over some evidence to the police, the evidence to prove that Mr. Drew's life, in fact, was in danger. And so now Mr. Drew is no longer going to be arrested. I guess he's going to be under house arrest instead. So that's basically it for the episode, and I guess we'll see you guys next week. Bye.